All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, the most delectable Chupacabra man, and we're back for another itch.io adventure episode here today, and we're going to be checking out the game called Wonders Between Dunes, kind of like sand dunes. And this is an artistic, artsy-fartsy exploration and sort of wandering mystery game, which is created by a young man named Link, who is the creative mind behind Trias Studios. And that's about all I know. And we're just going to wander through this world and see what it has to offer. So we start out spawning in a little cubbyhole down here, next to a very suggestive splatter, which is made all the more suggestive because we have the ability in this game, which I wish a lot more kind of explorative, artsy games had. We can right-click and zoom into things. So looking at what it could only be described as a glowing spooge in sort of blacklight, I kind of feel like I've been dropped into the middle of a fantasy crime scene investigation game. And look, here we have the first clue. Small glowing balls. Which could only mean one thing. Actually, I don't know what that means. Could be magic. Could be ancient Atlantean technology. That's all part of the mystery. Although the noise that they kind of make kind of reminds me a lot of those anti-stress balls that you could buy at, like, Chinese markets where you spin them around in your hand, with the overall goal being that the kind of melodic, rhythmic noise that they make will relax and help to de-stress you. And it looks like the primary trope in this game, which is very true of a lot of games that are artsy-fartsy, like Dear Esther, Proteus, and other titles, is we're being led along strategically with a combination of glowing light in the distance, like these fluorescent-looking lights on the ceiling, and also the little glowing balls on the ground, and maybe to a lesser extent, the noises that are going on in the background. So I'm guessing we're trying to escape from this mausoleum, or at least that's kind of what I think of when I see a bunch of cubby holes in a almost ritualistic underground chamber, is catacombs where you would store the bones of the dead. Although catacombs not always the biggest, friendliest place. It's not always the bones of the beloved or the dearly departed that make up catacombs. Sometimes it's just a convenient place to store the good old-fashioned riffraff. So yeah, it looks like we've got a temple complex here. It's the Temple of the Almighty Cube. Not to be confused with the Temple of the Sphere. And God help you if you mention to a Cubite that you're a follower of the Sphere. That's a good way to get, I wouldn't say murdered, but certainly blacklisted from the Christmas card. And yeah, I'm definitely getting a similar vibe to when I played the artsy-fartsy game of Proteus, which was a little experimental project that you could buy for, I think, about $2, $3? Probably like $1 if you get it on, like, a Steam sale. But instead of wandering an island, we are wandering into a desert that has some mysterious ruins off in the distance. Almost like some of the ruins of Pompeii. Or Athens, where they have the... what was that? The Parthenon. All that good stuff. And this does remind me a lot of my art history classes as we look off in the distance, although these objects don't necessarily want to spawn in correctly when I'm not looking directly at them. But a lot of ancient ruins in human civilization, where we're talking about like ancient temples to Athena or Zeus or Apollo, the sun god, they were designed a lot like this, where they used the natural alignment of the elements and the sun in order to evoke a lot of great ritual and spiritual power simply by accentuating what you would see in the environment. So in this case, this would be like a temple of Apollo, where the sun is nestled amidst the temple's pillars like it's powered mythically by the sun or something. So that's a good throwback to like actual art history in a maybe intentional, maybe unintentional way. So very nice job there. And certainly the mystery of wandering through the desert at around dusk when a sandstorm's kicking up. Although frankly, I'd be pretty afraid of the sandstorm if that is what was happening. Oh, we got some light rays going on from the setting sun that you can see up there. And I'm starting to wonder if that is the setting sun, or if that is, in fact, a giant glowing murder orb. But I guess we're gonna find out. So, if you're looking for a game that puts a bunch of strange mythical stuff together to intrigue me, this definitely qualifies. Like, there's actual stuff that I can say, like, that is an intentional, like, theoretical, fictional, human structure, which is often more than I can say of a lot of artsy games, which tend to just try to tell the world's most roundabout story that I may or may not feel any meaningful connection to. I should also note that this game predicts that you'll be able to play it in about an hour, so I would say that this is a pretty set and replicatable experience, which isn't bad. But what I am saying is that I'm used to a lot of these games being procedurally generated, because procedural generation is sort of the cheap man's way of creating an elaborate, emergent storytelling experience without having to model an ancient civilization. And if I had to pick one that I'm more of a fan of, it would definitely be something like this, where they've actually taken the time to craft a meaningful world. And speaking of craft something meaningful, it looks like I was correct. That is not a sun, and is in fact a giant glowing murder sphere in an ancient Acropolis. Neat. Alright. And there's actually some music to it. Alright. Certainly wasn't expecting too many sounds, because the game doesn't start with a lot of music. But that's nice to know. And it looks like the game is funneling us in one of two directions. This hallway of pillars leads to a new area, or we could go and explore the rest of this little temple structure. But, I mean, if you're gonna spend the time to create a giant sun, it means there's probably good stuff here, like magical ceremonial bacon. And if there's one thing I like, it's ceremonial bacon. Although, I don't like how pointy this thing is. This thing is bothering me. It's pointy in the touchy kind of way, and I'm not sure if I'm on par. I'm down to clown with that. So there's spheres here. What's going on over here on these other pillars? Because as much as I like a nice, tailored narrative whoop, what's this? Oh, that's just a random shadow. I thought there was like a magic murder key there. But as much as I like a nice, concise narrative that you can go and explore, there's a hallway of pillars over here that needs my attention. Actually, these aren't as interesting as I thought they were. Okay, never mind. The pillars lied to me. Also, there's sound. And I like being where the noise is. It's something about human nature, too, where we like to be where there is the sound of life and creatures and intentional noise that implies that there is potentially other people in safety, whereas silence, not always a good thing. And especially in nature, if you're hearing a lot of silence, that typically means that there's predators around that could potentially severely maim and harm your body. Hello. There's some magical scribbles in the distance. And you know what they say about magic scribbles? There's probably about a 50% chance if you recite them out loud that you'll explode or something near you will explode. Okay, so there's like a floating magical city over here. And I'm a rebel, so I won't be picking up the glowing orb on the ground. Because I'm gonna hop along these giant masonry blocks, because why not? I like to be up high and enjoy the splendor, and the fact that it's getting increasingly hard to see where I am walking. Is this like a city? It kinda looks like it's being evocative of neon signs from, like, the red light district of a city, where you could go enjoy the nightlife, maybe hire a hooker, hang out at the club with your friends, go to a restaurant, dance with the street performers, and throw some change in their hats. Ancient Ruins tends to have a little bit of everything. Kind of actually reminds me a little bit of the Fifth Element, too. Just something in the atmosphere and the glowiness reminds me of Zorg's palace, where he builds crazy machines and totally doesn't just try to destroy the universe. Arguably, the destroying the universe part is probably the greater evil, but he didn't have a great fashion sense either, so maybe that could have been described as another great sin of the villains from the Fifth Element. So it looks like we're in the M city, or palace. M, of course, not being my favorite letter of the alphabet. Probably closer to L or C. Or maybe R. Okay, so they're leading us up this middle pillar. Why not? Who knows what could be up here? Mysteries are abound. Although, I am waiting to see some motion happen in this game. Like, I think it'd be interesting to see an ancient magical device transform and activate like in Abzu. That was another artistic game that kinda had things that you interacted with and had some very simplistic puzzles. And I certainly think that it wouldn't be a bad thing in a game like this to have more stuff that moves and interacts with the player. Because right now, we're kinda just wandering about one gigantic set piece. But I'll be honest, that doesn't necessarily do it for me for very long. Like, sure, you can create a bunch of really cool environments and I can explore them and see your artistic modeling genius at work, but that only takes me so far. Like, I need some type of very simplistic, very subtle narrative, and I think probably the game that has done it the best for me so far has been the game Abzu, which was about man reuniting with nature and healing the earth through ancient ritual, ceremonial relationships with the plants and animals that inhabit the earth. I guess we had a very brief stint in this city. Now we're gonna go along a glass walkway into another city. Now, a part of me, if I wasn't recording right now, would probably jump down there and see what's down there. But I think that's getting away from the narrative goal of this game. Although I'm kind of getting some flashbacks to that game Inside, which was that game that was made by the Limbo people, which was a very large industrial feeling environment that was very uncaring of whether or not you lived, died, or even existed in the first place. Yeah, I mean, it's like Mosh Link did a very nice job of filling this game with stuff, but I'm not entirely certain if I'm really getting that full sensorial experience without something in the environment that's interacting with me directly, that acknowledges my presence, no matter how small and insignificant it might be in this universe, and leading me along some sort of story or some sort of narrative path. I feel like so far that has been probably the biggest missing link. Cause I've played a lot of games like this, I'll be honest. Like every game jam that I've played, there's been at least one game like this where you kind of futz about and explore. And again, not necessarily a bad thing, but you kind of are looking for that next piece, that next component that really takes this game into its own unique category and really sells it. Because at present, again, this is something that kind of feels like a lot of people have done it, and that a lot of people could replicate, like creating a Flappy Bird game. That's a game that kind of feels like you kind of made it for a tutorial, as opposed to an intentional design choice. So I hear something moving in the environment right now. Not sure what it is. It's like an electronic piston or something, or a steam piston moving around. What, can you die in this game? Let's find out. Oh, I guess not. Just a big old long corridor. Okay. So that's back the way that we came, so it looks like if I had fallen down, I would have eventually reached Valhalla here. So it's always nice to know that you would eventually reach some sweet, delicious bacon. And now we're kind of going back into, like, the Athenian columns and arches and stuff. Well, maybe not arches, but columns. This is kind of more Roman, in a way. So now the spiky thing from before is glowing. And there's green glow. That's definitely new. Oh, this sounds very mechanical. Maybe there are moving components. It sounds like a train. Do I get to go on a train? Apparently touching the murder star doesn't do anything. I actually hope that sounds are actually movable things and not just pretending that there's movable things. Because if so, this is kind of like reading a children's storybook where as you turn the page, the battery-powered speaker can tell what page you're on and then just plays. Oh, is that something moving? It just plays music and, like, sounds as you go along in those children's books. Okay, yeah, so there's like a proper train going on here. Well, at least some blocks that are moving that mimic it being a train. Does that mean I get to go on to a train? I mean, certainly we've got to the point where we've got some movement in this game, which is something that I wanted, so I can't really fault the game for offering me the thing that I desired. Now the question is, do I get to interact with anything? Because something I really need for a game to be pretty good for me is I need something that I can interact with, I can affect in the world, to let the world know that I'm here. And I feel, even though technically a lot of people say that wandering around in this type of environment is in itself a game, I feel like you kind of need more than that. I feel like you need something to interact with, you need something to do. Now, a lot of people would argue that a game, to be a proper game, needs to have a challenge and a fail state in order to be a real game. I'm not sure about that, but in this case, this is kind of just like a movie or a comic strip that you can turn on like a game and wander around. It's not necessarily interactive yet. Aside from these little pellets, which these could just be glowing footprints in the ground that disappear as I approach them. So these pellets don't necessarily do much for me. But it sure is a thing. And it's free, so I mean, what do you really want? Although, I'll be honest, like, at this point, I'm just kind of getting annoyed by how loud this train is. If this was a city, I sure wouldn't want to live here. And it is extremely dark. So I am definitely not certain how well this is going to come across on the video. But I'm in a very long hallway now. Lots of train noises, and there's a red light at the end of the tunnel. So it's probably the Oscar Mayer Wiener mascot waiting to give me a delicious meal. One could only hope. This is a very long hallway, a hallway that I can't even see anything at the end of. It's kind of like you're in the world's darkest, endless runner. And now it's kind of like we're plumbing through the bowels of like a maintenance corridor where some stuff has kind of fallen over and become old and derelict. Huh. Well, I'm definitely not going to finish this game today. I will leave that up to the people at home if you're interested in seeing the whole thing. Or you can look up someone else's playthrough, because this is a free game out on itch.io and Gamejolt, so eventually someone is going to do a full Let's Play of it. But I'm more interested in kind of talking about it and reviewing its merits. And it's alright. I mean, it's just like a little wander about walking simulator that kind of looks a little cool. Not crazy on the graphics, though. Certainly not, with just basic polygons, and not even a lot of polygons at that. But it does the trick. I mean, it's a free indie title that experiments with the artistic medium of wandering about and listening to the sights and sounds of ancient lost ruins. Okay. I guess the ruins have kind of run out on us. Oh, never mind. There's more glowing here. And another dark hallway. Now, I know darkness is supposed to be unsettling to people, but this is more like an annoying darkness that's just kind of filling the space between interesting things. So maybe if I skip to Maloo, I can get there faster. Like as if I was playing Half-Life again. Don't worry, Gordon Freeman. We'll get there together. We'll stop the aliens, those zappy-faced monstrosities. Ooh, and now there's like a little sun ray. The light at the end of the annoying dark tunnel. I see what you're trying to do there, Mosh. You're trying to tease me along with rewards for my patience. Look, Larry, if you get out of the dark, annoying tunnel, you get to have some sunlight and friendship, and the good thoughts will come back. Well, I'm not so easily trained, sir. See, I'm gonna go wander down one of these corridors and be contrarian, because that's just kind of the person that I am. Although I like that there is actually some whoa. Alright, well I guess I fell down here. There's no turning back now. I'm gonna be devoured by the tunnel beast. Oh where are those cute little demons? Oh where could— oh, that's a grate. That I can go through. Oh, neat. I suspect that there's absolutely nothing down here, though. Alright. I mean, I think if you were gonna put in, like, a bunch of side corridors you could go down, the least you could do, if you're gonna make the idea of exploration a real component of your game, would be to actually put something down here. Otherwise, this is an exclusively linear experience, and that's not really exploration, that's just walking along a path that's got stuff in it. Which is kind of boring after a while. Like, I can go onto Google Earth and I can walk through, like, all of the art galleries of the world, so... I guess M is for Mosh, isn't it? Or Mosh, however you pronounce that. I see what you did there, sir. Mr. Link! Whoop, that's a wall. What's over here? I guess there's nothing over here. Just a bunch of what could be windows that have been blacked out. Do I go through these bars? No, that's just a... That's not a door, that's just a light. Very evil light, but a light nonetheless. And it's hard to see if... Whoa. Alright, that kind of came at me out of nowhere. It's hard to really see what you're supposed to look at in the distance because my screen has a lot of little flecks on it from, like, probably sneezing. I should probably clean that tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. This game's okay. I certainly wouldn't pay a lot of money for it. Like, I'll be honest. It's cute. It's a cute little indie title, but it doesn't make me go bananas or anything like that. It's just kind of one of a bajillion fucking about games where you wander about, you skulk about, you look at pretty-ish looking stuff that's overlaid in kind of a mysterious, almost like ancient ruins of Atlantis-like formation, but that's about it. So what do we got? Oh, we've got a long corridor here. At least you got pretty good visual indicators of where I'm supposed to go, of following some of the lighted paths, while also trying to limit my places that I can go by making the one lighted path not the easiest answer of where you're supposed to be. So overall, I think for this game, I'd say it's alright. Doesn't wow me. Doesn't make me go bonkers, but it's not bad. It's got some decent sound design that lures me into different places, which is the goal of good sound design, telling me what's going on in the world around me. And it's got the start of some decent mystery. But again, I'd look at games like Abzu for a really good game that's very simple. It's not very crazy challenging, but it really illustrates what you can do with very simple puzzles, very simple implied story. That's a very old and classic story, all wrapped together in a package that lots of people are happy to pay 20 bucks for. And the graphics, you know, again, not crazy on the polygons, but just enough to get the idea across, and with the right use of color to make everything look beautiful. So would I recommend this game? If you're looking for a free and or cheap game that lets you wander about and kind of relax, this probably has what you're looking for. Especially now that we've suddenly found ourselves in an Everglade. In the Nile River. But I wouldn't say this is any better or any worse than any other wandering about simulator. It's simply one of a multitude of different options from an indie who's cutting his teeth on a lot of different artistic, experimental types of content. So it's okay. Doesn't wow me, doesn't go bananas, but it's not bad either. It just kinda is. So I think we'll leave it here for now, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. Thanks for joining me and checking out Wonders Between Dunes, made by Mosh Link of Trias Studios. And I'll catch you guys and gals next time. You can check out this game in the video description below. There'll be a link to the itch.io page and also the Gamejolt page. And I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check the game out at your leisure. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.